Everybody, welcome back to Inside the Zone with Mateo. It is our weekly NFL episode today, and we are coming to you. I'm coming to you from a different place. I'm not in my normal room. I'm in Florida right now for a Thanksgiving trip my family is taking. So I apologize if the sound is a little off. We're not in our normal place. It might be a little echoey, but hey, I'm going to still bring that energy. And it's that. As I said, we're here for Thanksgiving. Happy early Thanksgiving to you guys. November 26, 2025. Let's start the show. Let's go.
On play action to Jones. Stepping up. Deep shot. It is Edison! Flips the field down to the 40 of Detroit.
And his impact so far on the Viking defense. Second down 9. Darnold getting messy, going deep, and he's got Jefferson. It's a foot race downfield with Brown. Shifting gears. Getting a block. That's 6.
Everybody, Inside the Zone with Mateo starts right now. Let's go!
That is right, everybody. Oh, welcome back to Inside the Zone with Mateo. It's been a little bit, but we are back, everybody. NFL Week 13. It's our weekly NFL show coming to you every Wednesday or Thursday of the NFL season from Week 1 all the way to the Super Bowl. And yeah, we got a Thanksgiving episode today as it is Thanksgiving in under 24 hours as I am recording this. And it's about noon, 12:30 here, Eastern time in Orlando, Florida. Obviously, I am on vacation. I'm based in Minnesota, but we're in Orlando for today. I'm in a room we're kind of staying in today. It's my room. There's not really a chair, so I'm kind of standing up. So, I could sit on my bed, but I don't know. I just kind of want to, stand around and talk. So I'm holding my mic. So again, I apologize if the mic is a little echoey, a little shaky, but I will do my best to make this the best we can do for today. As you can see, happy Thanksgiving to everybody one more time, and let's get into the show. So if you have been a part of this show for a very long time or even just a couple weeks, you know what we do. We have our Mateo's Show batting order presented by To Be Determined. If you would like to sponsor this segment, or just this slide. Basically, I use it almost at every single episode. It's just kind of like our roadmap of what we're doing for each show, but, with a little sports twist on it with a batting order. If you know baseball, you know what I mean. But yeah, it could be presented by you. So let me know down in the comments if you want to do that, or you can send me an email or a DM on Twitter. But as normal, we have the same batting order for every NFL episode. It's what the heck we learned from last week of the NFL. We hold ourselves accountable for our Week 12 picks. We make our we'll make my Week 13 picks, and then of course your guys' favorite segment of the week. It's my power rankings, my updated power rankings for Week 13 of the NFL. So without further ado, let's get into what I learned from Week 12 of the NFL. Starting off with number 1, boom. Obviously, this is staying the same for the next couple weeks all the way through to the playoffs. Is these teams are making the playoffs. We're going to basically look at a playoff picture update, basically. Give you my thoughts on the teams, on the standings, who I think are locks basically into the playoffs that are going to for sure be in the playoffs, which teams do I think are eliminated, even if they aren't mathematically eliminated, because we only have one team that is mathematically eliminated right now, and I believe that is the New York Football Giants. We'll talk about that in a second. But here is last week's, basically what I thought last week. I thought the Colts, the Eagles, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Rams, the Bills, and the 49ers were all locks that they were going to be in the playoffs for sure. And then everybody but the Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, the Raiders, the Giants, Saints, Commanders, Falcons, and Cardinals, anybody other than those teams were still in the hunt, still in the race. And then I also told you what spots I still had open, for my playoff picture. However, things change. Things change as always. And here is the updated slide for this. As you can see, I took a couple teams out. I took the Bills out. We'll talk about that in a second. Who else did I take out? I took two teams out, the Bills, and I took out, no. Did I just take out the Bills? Yeah, I just took out the Bills for almost 100%. But still in the hunt, I added a team. It is in the bold. My Minnesota Vikings have now been officially eliminated by me. They haven't been mathematically eliminated, but again, we'll talk more about that in a second. And then a new addition to this slide is the crossed out, the strike through on the New York Giants, because those strike through teams are the teams that the NFL officially eliminates via, mathematically eliminating the teams. Okay. So the New York Giants are 2-10. They are mathematically eliminated. So therefore, they will get strucken through, meaning they are officially eliminated. The other teams are still just eliminated by me, and who I think they have no shot at making the playoffs. Obviously, as the weeks go on, we'll cross more teams out and add more teams to the list. But the spots left open these are the most amount of spots that I have left open in a couple weeks. We have all three wildcard spots in the AFC that are up for grabs still. We have two wildcard spots in the NFC. The AFC North winner is still up in the air between probably the Steelers and Ravens, but maybe even the Bengals. If you want me to talk more about that AFC North team, that AFC North division, I did talk about it last episode, my last NFL episode. You go ahead and check that out. It should be on my channel. It is the thumbnail is a bunch of 49ers. I believe Purdy, Shanahan, and McCaffrey are all on the thumbnail. Go ahead and check that one out. And I spent like 30 minutes talking about the AFC North. Not 30 minutes, but like a long period of time talking about the AFC North. So I don't know how much I'll talk about them today, but hey, maybe we will. So stay here and we'll see what the heck happens. The NFC South is still up for grabs between the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. The NFC West is still up for grabs, even if the Rams and 49ers are locks. For me, you even still have the Seahawks, who could mathematically win the division. We'll talk about that for sure in a second. And then the NFC North between the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions. You never know who might win that division. That is why the almost 100% teams. Oh, did I take the Bears out? Did I say that? No, I did not take the Bears. Okay, I was just wondering. Okay. But yeah, those are like the spots left open. We still have two wildcard spots in the NFC open. So let me explain a little bit here about the Rams and 49ers situation. I have one of those teams winning the division. I don't know who that's going to be quite yet. Most likely it's going to be the LA Rams, but the 49ers do have the tiebreaker. So technically, if they end up with the same record, the 49ers would get that tiebreaker and could still win the division. I just don't think the Seahawks will end up winning that division. But that's why one of those teams is going to be a wildcard team. One of those teams is going to be a division winner. I just don't know who yet. That's why I have the two wildcard spots left in the NFC, because right now, technically, one of those teams is going to win the division. That's why it's also still left open. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. However, let's talk a little bit about the playoff picture. I'll pull up the standings for y'all right here on ESPN. AFC, NFC, who should we go first? I just spent a lot of time on the AFC. Let's talk about the NFC. Mostly, the NFC West. The NFC West is an insane division. Let me pull it up. I'll zoom in as well for y'all here. There we go. We're zooming in. I feel like it's just easier, when you zoom in so you can see all these things here on your screen. There's the NFC South, and we'll talk about both of these divisions, so I will keep it up right here. So we're going to first talk about the NFC West. Why I say, okay, you're going to be looking at the standings and say, well, Seattle's ahead of the Niners, right? Well, here's the thing. San Francisco, I just think, has the easier schedule. The Seattle Seahawks, I do not trust Sam Darnold whatsoever. And the LA Rams are pretty good. Those three teams will probably all make the playoffs. I am just really hesitant on putting Sam Darnold in a locked position because I don't fully trust him. Obviously, if you're a Viking fan, you know what he did. Probably if you're even a football fan, you probably don't even trust Sam Darnold that much. Despite being 8-3 and having Jackson Smith and Ajigba, I just don't, fully trust him. So I can't, say he's for sure going to make the playoffs, even though it looks like he will. I do think I think some other teams are better in the NFC than the Seattle Seahawks, and I do think they would probably be a first-round exit. But I do really want to just talk about how close this NFC West division is. I don't believe I have another thing like in the 5 things I learned this week. I don't think one of them is about the NFC West this week because literally I was on the plane. I was coming up with things like what should be the 5 things I learned this week. I came up with a list of 20 things I could talk about. And so I just had to pick 5 random ones to talk about. And unfortunately, the NFC West won't be it, but I will tie it into here a little bit. Obviously, this will be the longest part of the 5 things I learned this week. The other 4 are more kind of just talking quickly about the thing, and then we'll move on. But it's such a broad category. I spent a little more time talking about this. If you look here at the division records, this is why it matters, because this is how the tiebreakers go. If you end up with the same record and you split the season series like the 49ers and the LA Rams, who did split, okay? You look at the division, you have the 49ers at 4-1 against the division. The Rams are 2-1. One of their wins coming against the Niners, one of their losses coming against the Niners. They have also only one other division win. They do have a lot of other division wins, a lot of other division games coming up in the coming weeks. But the San Francisco 49ers also have one more division game, and I believe it is against the Arizona Cardinals, who I do think they could fully beat. So, however, if that happens, if they beat the Cardinals, the 49ers division record would be 5-1. Okay? My guess is the Rams are going to probably go 4-2 against the division, meaning the 49ers will remain having the tiebreaker with both of these teams, the Seahawks and the Rams, because obviously the Seahawks are 2-2. So unless and I believe San Francisco beat them both times, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I have no idea. Or do they play them again? I am not fully. Seahawks play the Titans. I'm just trying to. Okay, they do play the 49ers. Last game of the season, they play the 49ers. So that's the last game. Okay, so that does change things. Seahawks have 2 division games left. They play the Rams and the Seahawks. Okay, excuse me, the Rams and the 49ers. What did they do? They lost to the Niners. Yeah, they lost to the Niners in week 1. Week 1, 17-13 against Brock Purdy before he went hurt. And I just think, the Niners will probably beat them again, especially because it is in Santa Clara. They already beat them in Seattle. So, the Seahawks, Seahawks lose. I hit the wrong, sorry. Seahawks lose, right? One more division game. That would be their 3rd division loss already, meaning that would and then the 49ers would win, meaning they would have the tiebreaker ahead of them. And I think, the Rams could end up maybe losing one more division game. They have only played 3 division games out of their 6. A chance of going 2-1 is very likely. I mean, they could go 3-0, but I just don't think so. I think the 49ers will end up having the best division record in that NFC West division, meaning they would have the tiebreaker if they were to, end up tied with the Rams as a record tie, which could just be insane. The San Francisco 49ers, as I said last episode of my NFL episode, week 12, the 49ers, I feel like, could surprise a lot of people. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, even though their whole defense is hurt, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, both out for the year, I feel like they could maybe be a dark horse into the playoffs. I do think they will make the playoffs. As I said, they're almost 100% for me to be in the playoffs. I don't know why my screen always fogs out when I switch the screen back to the slides, but whatever. But as you can see, 49ers 8-4. They're looking pretty darn good right now, even though they had an interesting Monday Night Football game last Monday against the Carolina Panthers. It was just a weird game overall. I felt that there wasn't really a good rhythm. Purdy, didn't look the sharpest, but hey, I'm going to give one to him. I tend to give a quarterback one bad game per season. That was his only bad game so far, and he's coming off the injury too. You never know. You never know what might happen. I'm just saying, be aware of the 49ers. I do think they could be a dark horse for sure. I talked about the Rams. I do think the Rams are the best NFC team right now. in the NFL right now. I don't know if the 49ers could beat the Rams. I feel like that could be an intriguing game in the playoffs if that were to happen. Right now, the Eagles look very, very interesting. I just do not know what the heck's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 8-3 though. Their whole division, other than the Cowboys, the Commanders, I feel like if JD5 and Terry McLaurin hadn't been hurt basically all season, it just would have been a different story, and they could have maybe even won the division with Philly playing so bad. Dallas, we'll talk about Dallas towards the end because we'll talk about Thanksgiving games. That's when I'm going to talk about the Cowboys. So stay tuned for that. And then the Giants obviously the first team to be eliminated from playoff contention. I did want to talk about one more NFC division that I haven't really talked about either last week or this week so far, and it is the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers started so hot. They were 6-2 and now are on a 3-game losing streak. And it's just been unfortunate. And then you got the Carolina Panthers, who, they lost to the 49ers. And if they would have won that game, they would have been 7-5 and would have been in first place of the division. That would have been insane. I did want the Niners to win that game more. I think the NFC West is more competitive. So the 49ers need that win more than the Panthers. And I think the Panthers still have 2 games against the Buccaneers, if I'm not wrong. They have, Okay, so they play the Buccaneers the last game of the season in Tampa, and then December 21st they play in Carolina. They do have the Rams this week, so if they drop this one, which I'm guessing they probably will, that means that they would go to 6-7. No 6-7 joke intended, but hey, that's what they would be. They would probably be a record of 6-7. But then they play the Saints, they play the Buccaneers, they play the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers. If you probably go 3-1, if you go 2-2, if you think about that, like at 8-9, I don't know if that's good enough. Maybe you go 3-1, you go 9-8. I think that might be good enough to win the division. I want to see the Buccaneers schedule. The Buccaneers have an interesting schedule. They have the Cardinals this week, who I could say the Cardinals could probably upset the Buccaneers if they wanted to. They do play the Saints. They play the Falcons. They play the Panthers twice, and then the Dolphins. They do have an easier-looking schedule, but I do think a couple of these teams could upset them. And again, if the Panthers beat them both times, this is a whole new thing. I do think the Dolphins could probably beat them. The Falcons, probably not. The Saints, probably not. But, I'm not totally sold on this Buccaneers team. I haven't really been sold on Baker Mayfield. I know Emeka Ibuka has been very good, but with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, with people on the O-line out, with Bucky Irving has been out forever. I believe he's making his debut back, his season debut, or maybe returning from week 1. He's been out for forever. Maybe they can get a solid run game going, and maybe they look like a completely different team against the Cardinals this week. And the Cardinals will play hard. They will play hard. Jacoby Brissett has stepped in for Kyler Murray very well, and I really like it. What I'm seeing from Brisket, and James Conner's back. Marvin Harrison's been okay. Trey McBride's been pretty good. I do think that it could be a competitive game between the Buccaneers and the Arizona Cardinals, so that's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, I do think the Arizona Cardinals will not make a playoff spot. As I said, they are not in the hunt as I have them eliminated on my slide. We'll get back to that in a second. But that's kind of for the NFC, that's where I'm standing. I will jot quickly at the NFC North, my division with the Minnesota Vikings, 4-7 on the season. I'm going to talk about them in a second. I'm just going to say, as you know, I added them into my elimination teams. But you got the Detroit Lions, you got the Green Bay Packers, and you got the Chicago Bears at first place. The Bears are 8-3. They're playing the Eagles this week. My guess is they're going to probably lose. They'll be 8-4, which means whoever wins tomorrow afternoon, I should say. It's like a 12 o'clock game, Central Standard Time, 1 o'clock Eastern, between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. Whoever wins that game is most likely going to be in first place. If the Detroit Lions win, they go to 8-4. And if then Chicago loses, Detroit is in first place. If Chicago loses, which I think they will. If they beat the Eagles, then they're a Super Bowl contender. I called it right there. Green Bay wins. They go 8-3-1. Even And then Chicago loses, they're in first place. If Chicago wins, they'll stay in first place. But I don't think that's going to happen, which means the winner of tomorrow's Thanksgiving game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions will be set up basically to be in first place in the NFC North with a couple games left in the season, which is very intriguing. Then you got this division. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a second. Again, I kind of stated about the Eagles. I don't know what's going on in the Eagles. I might do an episode later on in the season talking about the Eagles offense. But I know people have been talking about Saquon. It's like, where the heck has he been? You know, Saquon, I do think the Madden curse might be real. But Saquon, he's just been having a quieter year. That whole offense has been having a quieter year. I think a lot of people studied that offense. I think Sirianni does need to make some adjustments in his playbook. But I'm not going to really hate on the Eagles. They're doing okay. I do think A.J. Brown will probably be gone this season. I think Devonta Smith could definitely be your wide receiver one. Maybe you trade A.J. Brown to somebody who needs a wide receiver, and you get back like a wide receiver two and maybe some defensive help or some O-line help to maybe help Saquon Barkley. But we'll see. We will see what happens for sure. Washington, as I said already, very unfortunate that JD5, Terry McLaurin, got hurt. And then they just couldn't really get into a good rhythm. There were guys injured, guys were healthy, and then they were injured again. They've lost 6 straight games. A minus 60 point differential. It's not been good. It's not been pretty for the Commanders, and then the Giants are the Giants. They do have a bright future. I probably will do another episode about that in the off season. But yeah, I spent a lot of time on the NFC because I did spend a lot of time in the AFC last week, and my thoughts I'm probably going to save my thoughts for the power rankings. I do want to talk about, I think I'm going to save it all for the power rankings, and let's get a move on here. Let's head it back over here. Sorry for the bad transition. I should probably start fixing this. But yeah, that's like my playoff prediction update, my playoff picture update, if you will. So the second thing I learned this week from the NFL is this. Boom! Have I been glazing the Colts too much? This is why I wanted to save the AFC talk for this and for the power rankings, because I talk a lot. I'm talking a lot about different things with the playoff picture in a bunch of different segments today. So, have I been glazing the Colts too much? The short answer is I'm going to say no. You lose to the Chiefs. I get that. People are saying, okay, maybe this team is actually showing their true self. Most teams will have 1 or 2 bad games every season. And this is my problem also with the Philadelphia Eagles. Sure, they haven't looked as good as they were last year. But did we really expect them to be dominating? I don't think anybody expected the Philadelphia Eagles to be dominating. And by the way, by the record, they are still dominating if you want to say that they aren't dominating, because they're 8-3. They've won 8 out of their 11 games. They're winning ball games. Okay? Chill. You have their second best record in the NFC, third best record maybe in the whole NFL. But anyway, everybody's going to have bad games. And this is what I'm saying. Daniel Jones, hey, he's not perfect. I'm saying he's not perfect. Just like Sam Darnold. But I do think Daniel Jones is a little bit better than Sam Darnold. But, give him a break. Give him 1 or 2 bad games. And when you're seeing the Indianapolis Colts as a 1 or 2 seed, that's my guess. It's going to be a 1 or 2 seed. Hot take. It is a hot take. That means we're going to have to see either the Broncos or the Patriots in round 1. You're going to be saying nobody probably wants to go to the Colts. The Colts are going to be dangerous in the playoffs. They're 6-0 at home. If they have home field advantage, they're undefeated. They should be 10-point favorites. I'm kidding. But I'm just saying, if this team goes on the road, hypothetically, if they go on the road, yeah, it's harder to win on the road. But they've been pretty bad. They've been at about 500 on the road. But I'm just saying, 6-0 at home compared to 2-3. Okay, sorry, 6-0 at home compared to 2-3 on the road. Hey, it is concerning, and I feel like that's where you have to look at it. Not are they a good team? They just aren't a good road team, and that's totally fine. You're gonna have a home game against the Texans this week. If you win, you go to 9-3. Then you do have to go to the Jaguars and the Seahawks the following 2 weeks. But hey, you're going to be playing Sam Darnold in the afternoon. It's a 3:25 Central Standard Time game. He's not going to be at his full best. So now Daniel Jones can beat him, right? And then the Jaguars, the Jaguars are good, but I think the Colts are good. You do play the 49ers, but that's, again, at home. That's a nighttime game. I think it's a Monday night game. Then you host the Jaguars, and then you do have to go on the road to the Texans. But overall, if you even just win your home games, you win your remaining home games. There's 3 remaining home games. You still win 11 games. You go 11-6. Obviously, I think they'll probably end up winning 12 or 13 games, and that's probably going to be good enough for this 2 seed. My guess is that. But I'm saying, chill. They've done so well in the early part of the season that it's okay that they're kind of slowing down a little bit. They find their weaknesses, and then in the playoffs, they know what teams are going to be looking for against them, and they're going to be fine because they're going to be prepared. At least I hope they're going to be prepared. And I don't think I've been glazing the Colts too much, but that is for you to decide, and let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at the comments section, why don't hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help me grow my channel as I'm trying to grow my channel. So why not hit that like button, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. And the third thing I learned this week from the NFL, here comes the Vikings news of the day. Boom. The Bros Bowl from Seattle. The Bros Bowl is coming to Seattle because JJ McCarthy is hurt again. JJ McCarthy, oh my goodness. I don't know what to make of this. Is it a legit injury? I don't know. I don't know if it's a legit injury. As y'all probably saw, JJ McCarthy, we had updates on the way home from Green Bay. On the flight home from Green Bay, we were told that JJ McCarthy was in pain and got evaluated for a concussion. And he is now in concussion protocol, meaning he will not be playing. I have a feeling he might have a little concussion. It's football. He might have a little concussion from playing football. Okay, I see you. But I have a feeling this is some way of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah or Kevin O'Connell just not wanting to say, okay, we were wrong about this kid. He absolutely sucks. And we just need a reason to pull him out of the lineup, except that he's just bad, okay? But Max Brosmer is the projected starter for our game against the Seattle Seahawks, against Sam Darnold from Seattle on Sunday. I'm going to be actually excited to watch a Vikings game. I haven't been excited to watch a Vikings game since week 1. Week 1 was the only game I was excited for. Now I'm excited for this because I'm expecting Max Brosmer not to be perfect, but better than JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy, 87 passing yards in a full game last week against the Green Bay Packers. He was awful. 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. He's just been awful. He has been awful. Y'all know I am kind of a JJ McCarthy hater. But now we get to see my guy, Max Brosmer. I have been calling to see him. Put him in. I just said put him in. Why not? Just put him in. Put him in. Because, why not? You're not getting wins with JJ. So who cares if you don't get wins with Max Brosmer? Let's see. Is he worth it? Undrafted out of the University of Minnesota, the hometown kid. Everybody's going to be rooting for him. I just want to go back to these stats from JJ McCarthy just because I just want to look at these. 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, under 1,000 yards, 54% completion percentage. That is under my completion percentage for my predictions I make every week, which I'm at 59% or something like that. He just has an awful rating all the time. And I did have something. I just wanted to pull this up as well. I mean, there's just so many things to digest about the whole McCarthy things that are going on. I just don't know what to call it. The controversy, is he this good or not? But I found this thing on Twitter. It was actually very, very intriguing. I'm going to pull up it's just like a picture. I just want to make sure. There we go. Here we go. Ready? So let's I'm going to show you here on this page that I have up right now. Here's his passer rating, 34.2. If JJ McCarthy had spiked every single play during that Green Bay game, he would have had a higher passer rating than what he did while he was throwing the ball. Poor Vikings indeed. Travis _24, etc. He says that right here under the meme that Sam Darnold's like laughing. Yeah. But poor Vikings indeed. Poor Viking fans. Not poor Vikings. Poor Viking fans. People that cover this team. It is just atrocious what this organization has done. This kid is not the future of your franchise. And I know you want to say, okay, give him a full year. Okay, we've given him enough. How many more times? Like, okay, I give you 3 games, right? We watched the Bears game and we saw flashes, right? We saw him against the Falcons where he got hurt. He still had 2 interceptions in like a quarter. Yes, we beat the Lions with him. That was pretty good. But then against the Ravens, the Bears, the Packers, over that stretch of time, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, I'm saying it's just awful. I don't know what other people need from this. Like, he's awful. He's averaging basically 2 interceptions a game. He's played what? 6 games? 6 games, 10 interceptions? He's averaging 1 touchdown and like 1.7 interceptions a game. That is not a winning formula. You're wasting Justin Jefferson. You're wasting his career. You're wasting all the time and money you spent into building this team during the offseason. You spend money, you made moves, and because of this kid, your plan is ruined, and you're standing right here. Week 13 of the NFL about to start. 4-7. 4-7. It is time for Max Brosmer. The Bros Bowl. You like what I did there? Instead of the Rose Bowl, the Bros Bowl. It's the best I could do. The Bros Bowl from Seattle starts on Sunday. Hot take. Would not be surprised if they get the win. The 4th thing I learned this week from the NFL is this. Boom. The NFL loves the Chiefs. We're back, Chiefs. The Indianapolis Colts were up 20-9 in Arrowhead. They were riding. They were good, doing good. And by the way, there weren't really many costly turnovers. So you can't just blame this on like Daniel Jones or whatever. I told you this a couple weeks ago. Never count the Chiefs out. Because of this, the NFL will literally just keep okay, so going into the season, everyone was like, okay, the Chiefs are going to probably end up getting all these calls in, right? So they said, okay, we're going to change the script a little bit. We're going to have the Chiefs start losing and say, okay, and then get everybody say, okay, I think we're back to normal, right? Now they get a couple wins. Okay, sure, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to get some wins, right? And then they lose. Okay, they're at 500. Then a game against one of the best teams in the league. They win in the most Chiefs fashion ever. Coming back. And now I know. It's a heck of a win. But I'm saying now they got momentum. They play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. If they win this, they're 7-5. The AFC is not completely competitive. I don't really know who's a competitive team in the AFC playoff picture right now. Here it is. The Chiefs, they win, go to 7-5. The Bills are 7-4. The Chargers are 7-4. The Jaguars are 7-4. The Steelers are 6-5. The Texans are 6-5. Any of those teams could win. But all of them could also very lose. They have their faults. The Chiefs win, they go to 7-5. Then they just need either the Jaguars, the Chargers, or the Bills to lose. Fairly, that's pretty easy to get two of those three teams to lose on a given week. Chiefs win. At least one of those teams lose. They're back in a playoff spot. Kansas City Chiefs also have a pretty darn easy schedule. They play the Cowboys. Okay. And then they play the Texans. One of the teams they're fighting for. Then they play the Chargers. Another team they're fighting for against. Then they play the Titans, who's probably a bye week, basically. They play the Raiders. They do play the Broncos, which I think they'll lose, but I do probably even think they'll lose to the Cowboys. But that's still 4 more wins. If you win 4 wins, more wins, you get to be a 10-win team. The AFC is not that competitive. That 10 wins could easily get you the 6th seed. Y'all thought you were free from the Chiefs. And the NFL says, no way. The NFL will never stop helping the Chiefs win because they just frankly love them. The final thing I'll learn from Week 12 of the NFL is this. Boom! Thanksgiving is loaded. The NFL Thanksgiving slate is absolutely loaded. Here are the games. All times are in Eastern time. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, you got the Packers and the Lions. As I said, basically the winner takes first place in the NFC North, which is insane. Game 2 at 4:30 Eastern, you got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, who basically, if one of those teams lose, their season is over. That's at least what I'm saying, okay? Chill. And then ending it all with an AFC North battle, Joe Burrow returns to the NFL, who we didn't even know if he was going to return at all. We thought he was done for the year in Week 2. He's playing the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. 8:20 Eastern Time. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow against Lamar Jackson. And note, I do want to talk a little bit about the AFC North just a little bit more. I'm not going to spend too much time, but I just want to give you a quick overview. Bengals are 3-8. I do know that. I'm not stupid. Stop. What are we doing? Stop. Okay, there we go. I'm not stupid to say that the Bengals could still win the division, but I am stupid enough to say that I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are that good. They have not been having a great season. They play the Steelers twice. They play the Bengals twice. Their 2 division wins comes against the Cleveland Browns, which don't matter, that you're going to beat them. Frankly, I could see the Bengals beating the Ravens at least once. I could see the Steelers beating the Ravens at least once. What if the Bengals beat them twice? You're looking at a 5-8 team to a 6-7 win team. That's a 1-game difference. Maybe I am stupid enough to say that the AFC North might have an interesting finish. Steelers could for sure start winning games. Cincinnati Bengals. Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens is who we need to look at here. Here we go. It's interesting. You guys, it is really interesting. Because I could see the Ravens losing all of these games. The Bengals twice, the Steelers twice, the Patriots, and the Packers. The teams the Ravens have beat this year: the Dolphins, the Bears, the Browns, the Vikings. That's it. They've lost to the Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Rams. I know some of that was without Lamar Jackson and that their defense is injured. Well, guess what? Kyle Hamilton got hurt again. That's one less safety for Jamar Chase to have to worry about. Sure, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't return, the Steelers could be an easy win. But you never know. If the Bengals beat the Ravens twice, this gets very interesting. Let's look at the Steelers, though, because I do think the Steelers' schedule also factors into this because they have an interesting schedule of their own. They play the Bills this week. The Bills need a win after that embarrassment on Thursday Night Football. When I make my picks, you're going to see me take the Bills. I don't think I was going to pick the Bills originally because I was not going to pick the Bills again after what they embarrassed me again by taking the Bills proudly against the Texans. But if the Bills beat the Steelers go to 6-6, I believe. Then they play the Ravens. Okay. It's in Baltimore. I'll give that one to the Ravens. Steelers against Dolphins. I feel like that's a toss-up. To be honest, that is a toss-up. The Lions will beat them. They'll probably beat the Browns unless Shedeur could ruin some things. Then I'll give them a win against the Ravens. I'll have them split against the Ravens. But that's already 3 losses, maybe more. Meaning the Browns one could be a win, the Dolphins could be a win, and I might give you an extra one. So out of your next 6 games, if you even go 500, you win 9 games. Okay? You win 9 games. That's solid. You did already play the Bengals twice, so you don't have to worry about them. And I do guess the Bengals don't have the easiest schedule. That's all well. The Bengals do own the Bills. I do think they'll beat the Ravens at least once, so that's 2 more wins. You beat the Dolphins, that's 3 wins. You beat the Browns and Cardinals. You get 5 more wins, you win 8 games. So if some way, somehow, you go 6-0, Bengals, I know that's a lot to ask. Or even 5-1. And some other teams help you out. Maybe Shedeur helps you out by beating the Steelers, and then somebody playing the Ravens helps you out. Who says no to the Bengals making the playoffs with Joe Burrow? Now, chances are good that they're not. But hey, why not throw the idea out? But that's only one of the Thanksgiving games. That's only one of them this week. We talked about the NFC North game. Then you got Chiefs. You got the Chiefs and the Cowboys. That game's going to be crazy. Dak. Patrick. That is just going to be insane, you guys. I just got to tell you guys, it's going to be insane. Which game do I think is going to have the most reviews? That game right there. I was watching ESPN this morning. Somebody said most likely they're projecting about 50 million people to watch that game because it has so much on the line. And, it's America's team, the Cowboys, playing on Thanksgiving. but it's also against the world's team, the NFL favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a very, very interesting slate of Thanksgiving games, and that is what I learned from Week 12 of the NFL, everybody. Whew, that was good. So that was a recap. Talked about, the playoff picture as normal. Talked about the Colts. I talked about Max Brosmer. I talked about the Chiefs being back, and I talked about a little bit about Thanksgiving games. There's always so much more I could talk about, but, give me your opinions on some of these things, and, maybe I'll sit down and talk about your opinions, your hot takes. There's so much to get to every episode, and, I can always, there's so much I could always talk about, and I have to, limit it down. So I appreciate your patience, and sorry if I didn't talk about your favorite team. But that's going to do it for 5 things we learned from Week 12 of the NFL. Or I learned, not we. I just say we because it sounds better. But the next thing in Mateo's show batting order is going to be my accountability from Week 12 and my Week 13 picks. All right, hold on. I got to pull some things up here. Week 12. As a recap, here we go. Here are the picks I made last week. I went 12-5. No, sorry, not 12-5. 10-5 this week. There's the picks I made. If you want to recap, you can pause the video. But here's the slide again. Oh, boy. Okay. So, yes, my Week 13 picks. It's time to predict the unpredictable because this season has been unpredictable. But, yeah, I went 10-5. The teams on the bye last week were the Broncos, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Commanders. My overall record now is 104-74. 104 for 178. That's 58% completion percentage. There are no teams on the bye this week. 16 games to predict. So without further ado, let's get over to the Week 13 slate here and start picking games. I already gave you some of my thoughts. I will create a short out of this eventually. But starting off with the Thanksgiving games, give me the Lions at home. Give me the Dallas Cowboys at home. Both teams that play on Thanksgiving, I'm going to give them the wins. I think both of those teams need those wins a little bit more, I think. I think the Lions want to beat the Packers here. They want some redemption from Week 1 of the NFL. And then I just think Dak Prescott's going to get it done. Thursday Night Football, this is interesting. I could very well go the Bengals, but I could also very well go with the one and only Lamar Jackson. The one thing that is going to decide this for me is this. Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback, in my opinion, when he plays. Give me Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow. I don't care if that defense sucks. It might be a shootout, but that's how all the games are normally. Joe Burrow wants to make a statement. 4-8. You beat them once in Baltimore. Can you beat them again in Cincinnati? For sure. I think things could get interesting. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. That would be a little crazy. Or maybe I am. Just give me the Cincinnati Bengals. On Friday, Black Friday game, give me the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they bounce back. Give me the Niners over Shitter. Give me Trevor Lawrence over the Titans. Give me the Colts over the Texans. I think give me Tua and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane. And, the Miami Dolphins over the New Orleans Saints, who probably will be eliminated after this week. Give me the Falcons, even though it's Kirk Cousins over the Jets. I just think the Jets are pretty bad. Give me the Cardinals. There's that upset. I'm going to give it to you. Give me the Cardinals over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and give me the Rams over the Panthers. Give me the Bills over the Steelers. Give me the Chargers over the Raiders. Give me the Broncos on Sunday Night Football against the Washington Commanders, and then give me Drake May on Monday Night Football against the one and only New York Football Giants. And I left, as normal, my Minnesota Vikings for last. Max Brosmer, what do I do? The Minnesota Vikings do know Sam Darnold a little bit. They know what he struggles with. Do I think they have the defense to stop JSN? Maybe. Do I think Max Brosmer is going to be better than JJ McCarthy? Yes. Do I think Justin Jefferson's going to go crazy? Yes. Do I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win? I say heck yeah. I don't care. I couldn't care less if I'm wrong about that. Give me the Vikings. Max Brosmer, I'll give you one shot. If you win, you all know I'm going to be screaming at this microphone next week. If Max Brosmer wins, I will be screaming at Kevin O'Connell. I will be screaming about Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. And I'll just be screaming about this whole Vikings season. Now, I'm guessing Seattle will win. But I'm going to pick the Vikings for the heck of it. All right? Max Brosmer, I'm trusting you. For one game. Now, if you're just as bad as JJ McCarthy, I don't know what you do next year for the quarterback's room. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give Max Brosmer one chance to win against the former Viking quarterback. And I do think there could be other factors to the wins because we do know Sam Darnold a lot. All right? That's going to be it for my predictions and my accountability session. It is now time for our Week 13 Power Rankings. Everybody, there we go. Boom. There we go. Yeah. As you can see, I kind of started this off because those four are the bottom four teams in the NFL right now. Oh, so are the... Oh, I forgot. I was going to take Young but Intriguing out. I forgot. I did that last week and I liked that, so I'm here. Boom. Ba-dum. There we go. Those are your bottom five teams, and I do know the Giants are the first team to be officially and mathematically eliminated. I think they could beat, as you know, they almost beat Detroit. I think they could beat all those other four teams, so that's why they're the best of the worst. Those are the only five number one pick contention teams that I'm going to put there, okay? Just kidding. I'm not. I'm going to rant on a couple other teams, including the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are awful. I know they won, but they're still number one pick contention. They were there last week as well. We also had one more team there last week. We had the Cleveland Browns there last week with Shedeur. They're still pretty bad. I don't think they're going to win against the Niners, but I will give them some respect. I'm going to actually slide the Falcons down a little bit because the Giants did beat. They did beat the one and only. Well, almost beat. They didn't fully beat, but they almost beat the Detroit Lions, who are a Super Bowl favorite, Super Bowl contender, a playoff team. One of those spots. They're in there somewhere, and they're a pretty darn good team. Shedeur looked pretty good. I'm going to give them a little bit. I'm going to put them up a little bit just because why not? Those are the number one pick contention teams. Now we'll just go kind of in a random order. First team I see is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was looking at all the teams, and that's the team that caught my eye. We're going to do the Buccaneers next. Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. They were an interesting team. They were a playoff team last week. And I'm going to say they're a potential wildcard team. It's going to be them or the Panthers. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be one of them. One of those two teams. Not both, just one. 2 games against each other still left in the season. Those games are going to matter a lot. I'm not quite sold on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quite yet. The Indianapolis Colts are the next team that we're going to do here. And last week, they were my third best team in the NFL. They were a Super Bowl favorite. They're going to stay in there. They are staying in there because y'all don't say, I know they lost to the Chiefs, but I know what they can do. And I trust this team. I'm not glazing. I'm telling you guys, I'm not glazing. I got to stay true to them all season long. I believe the Indianapolis Colts will bounce back. They're going to win this week. They're going to beat the Houston Texans. I know the Texans have looked good. They're going to be 9-3 at the end of this week. That's a Super Bowl favorite right there. And we know what JT can do. We know what Daniel Jones can do. That defense with Sauce Gardner. All those other guys. We know what they can do. They're still a Super Bowl favorite, in my opinion. Miami Dolphins last week were a mediocre at best team. They're going to stay right there. They were actually on a bye this week, but they're not going to just miss the playoff. They're not a potential wildcard team. They're certainly not a playoff team. They're just mediocre at best. They could even be a 500 team technically if they start winning games. But, that's just mediocre. The Minnesota Vikings, same thing. Mediocre at best, but towards the losing end, towards the number one pick contention. They're at the bottom of the list. They're at the bottom of my power rankings. Definitely in the last 10 teams, I think. The Pittsburgh Steelers catch my eye next. They were a playoff team last week just because they were in their the lead in their division. That changed. They are a potential wildcard team this week with the Buccaneers. Speaking of the AFC North, why the Steelers were the only team were a playoff team last week was because they were in the lead for their division. That means Baltimore Ravens, welcome back. Welcome back to a playoff team tier right now. Just because you're in the lead for your division, that could definitely change next week. Let's just do the AFC North team here. Let's get them all done with. The Bengals, I thought Joe Burrow was coming back last week. Everybody did. They were just missing the playoffs. I'm going to put them there, right there. I really trust Joe Burrow. I low-key really trust Joe Burrow. I don't know why, but I do, okay? I really trust Joe Burrow, and that is why I'm going to put them at just missing the playoffs, because I think they could end up fighting their way back to a 500 team, okay? That's okay if you don't agree, that's fine. But this is my opinion. They're just missing the playoff team this year, or this week, excuse me. Zach Taylor says he anticipates Joe Burrow will play Thursday versus the Ravens. He's been out since week 2. I don't care. I don't care. I got to hold on. I got to find my charger. My computer's dying. All right, everybody. I know it's kind of crazy that I picked the Bengals, but hey, Bengals, trust me. Just trust me on the Bengals, and it's okay if I'm wrong. I really couldn't care less. Okay. There's so many interesting teams I could talk about. So okay, I think it's Bills rant time. All right, Bills. Here we go. What the heck are you doing, Bills? What the heck are you doing? That's all I have to say to you. You lose to the Texans. Josh Allen everybody keeps saying, oh, he's my MVP. That's not an MVP, buddy. Josh Allen is not having an MVP year. He's not going to win the award this year. He's not a great quarterback this year. He needs a wide receiver. I don't know why they won't give him a wide receiver. Sell some people off of the defense who's getting all that money. Give him a wide receiver. A.J. Brown could be an option next year. But for the power rankings, they were a Super Bowl contender. Why? I get literally, you guys, if you guys know me, I hate the Bills. I hate the Chargers. I don't hate them. I just don't give them enough respect. People say I don't give them enough respect. But trust, I know what I'm saying. And I have my opinions. And, it just kind of, it showed why I don't totally trust the Bills. I don't totally trust the Bills because I just lost to the Texans. They're slowly falling. I will put them in a playoff team. Obviously better than the Ravens because I do think the Ravens are a little bit of a joke as well right now. But Josh Allen, regain my trust. Give me an MVP performance on Sunday. You might be back into a Super Bowl contender. The Denver Broncos. Very interesting team we're going to do next year on my power rankings. Denver Broncos, 9-2. They were on a bye this week. They run it on my top 5 last week. They're going to stay in my top 5 for sure. And I will keep them behind the Colts because Bo Nix and that team sometimes doesn't show up till the fourth quarter. And you got to be able to play a full 4 quarters. And I do think the Colts can play, they'll play a more complete game than the Broncos. But hey, that Broncos defense is good. They're still a top 5 team. Chill. I do have 5 Super Bowl favorites still this week. I don't know how many Super Bowl contenders I have, but yeah, the Broncos stay in the Super Bowl favorites. I mean, they were also on a bye. I'm not going to take them out just because they were on a bye. They played nothing. They couldn't do anything to lose my trust or anything. Exactly. So I'm not gonna make them suffer in the power rankings this week. But man, we've got those Rams and the Rams. We're the second team last week, just behind the Eagles. And I don't care if the Eagles beat the Rams this year, but we've got a new number 1 team. The new number 1 team. The new number 1 team for my power rankings are the one, the only Los Angeles Rams. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, and the MVP, Matthew Stafford. That defense looks great. That team looks scary. And they might be my favorite coming out of the NFC to maybe even win it all. They are my number 1 team in my power rankings. For sure, a Super Bowl favorite. Sorry, Eagles. But hey, I'll give you some love. You're still my second team here in the NFL. You guys just swapped places. You're still good. People are disrespecting you for no reason. You're still a good team. I do think you could be a scary team in the playoffs as well. So you're saying, hey, you say you were going to have 5 Super Bowl favorites this week? Yeah, I do. And it's not the Patriots. It's not the Patriots. The New England Patriots almost lost last week to the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Cincinnati Bengals would have beaten the Patriots without Joe Burrow, imagine what I would have been doing. I would have probably had the Bengals as a freaking playoff team this week. They would have been like 5-7 with Joe Burrow, 4-7 with Joe Burrow coming back. They could maybe, if they would win out, they would win 10 games, maybe even 5-1. They would go 9-8, and I would be like riding high. Now the Bengals did lose, but it was too close. And the Patriots have a young team. They have some injuries. I'm gonna drop them to a Super Bowl contender, and who's going to replace them? Well, the other team that was in the Super Bowl contending last year. You see it on the right of your screen for my last week of my power rankings. Well, here, the San Francisco 49ers enter the top 5. And they don't just enter as the 5. They are the 4. The 4th best team in the NFL right now. At least in my opinion. The San Francisco 49ers. Number 5 are the Broncos. Number 6 are the Patriots. Who's number 7? Well, we'll do number 7 right now. The Detroit Lions. And this is very weird because they're not number 1 in their division. They almost lost to the Giants, I know. But I really liked what I saw from that team on Sunday. Not defensively, but offensively. Jahmyr Gibbs basically showed that he's the best running back in the league. If he can do half of what he did on Sunday, give you about a touchdown or 2, 100 yards rushing, that team could be scary. And then Jared Goff was balling with Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo. That defense will fix it together. It might be too early to say that they're a Super Bowl contender, but I sure am scared of the Detroit Lions if you're an NFC team. You don't want to face them in the playoffs. Aiden Hutchinson's got the sacks when he needed it most. Trust on this. We have the other 2 NFC North teams here at the top. I do want to talk about here and rank up here in my power rankings. We'll put the Green Bay Packers as a Super Bowl contender as well. The Green Bay Packers, yes, they beat the Vikings, and that's not saying much, but their defense looked awesome. Their offense, not so much, but hey, they didn't even have Josh Jacobs. I'm telling you, Detroit, Green Bay, one of those teams are going to win the division. I don't fully trust Caleb Williams and the Bears. I do think they're too young, but I will here. I'll put them here. They're a playoff team. They're the highest playoff team, again, just like last week. But I'm just giving more love to the other two teams because I do think they're a little more scary. They have the playoff experience. I just trust their coaches more also with Dan Campbell and Matt LaFleur. Those three NFC North teams, those are scary teams. You don't want to face them in the playoffs. You don't want to face them right now. That's where I'm going to rank them. Y'all choose. Y'all choose what you make of it. I don't care. Let me know down in the comments, though. I'll interact with you in the comments. Don't worry. Okay, I'm not going to talk much about the Commanders here because, again, they're just pretty bad. They're mediocre at best. Again, even if JD5 comes back, they win, 2-3 games, and then, yay, they're like a 6-win team. Yeah, that's mediocre at best. I'm not going to say number one pick contention because they're not going to get the number one pick. You got the Cardinals as well. Cardinals, I do think they could miss the playoffs, but I'm going to put them at mediocre at best here. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, they did get a bounce-back win, but they only won by 6 points to the Tennessee Titans. That is, though, I think they'll still probably end up making the playoffs or at least being close. I'm going to put them in the playoff team category for sure. We got the Kansas City Chiefs next, and I do think they're a playoff team as well. I think they're going to end up making the playoffs. As I talked about them a little bit earlier. We got the Panthers. The Panthers, again, right next to the Buccaneers because, again, one of those two teams I do think will make the playoffs. One of them won't. Whoever wins that division, they got the 2 games left against each other. It's going to be interesting finish in that division for sure. The Dallas Cowboys, they're for sure a potential wildcard team. I'm going to put them ahead of the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers because they are dangerous. If they beat the Chiefs, they probably could even have an argument for being a playoff team type of team. That offense is scary. That defense is looking good. I like what I'm seeing from the Dallas Cowboys, indeed. And y'all know how much I like the Chargers. No, just kidding. I don't like the Chargers. I never really trust the Chargers. They are in a playoff spot right now, but I think they're going to end up just missing the playoffs. They were that team last week as well. Same thing here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think I'm going to have them be just missing the playoffs as well. I think we're seeing a little more competitiveness from the Chiefs. Maybe the Bengals, the Steelers hypothetically could maybe end up being a wild card team. I think the Jaguars are just a little one step away. I think maybe they could make a push next year, but I'm going to say they're going to just miss the playoffs this year. And then kind of the same thing with the Houston Texans. They're going to put them actually ahead of the Jaguars just because that defense is really good. I might even put them here. I'll give them a little more respect. Put them ahead of the Chargers. They did beat the they did beat the Bills last week. But yeah, that's going to be my Week 13 power rankings here. As a reminder, the ones on my right are the ones from last week. But also here, I will just give you a list quick. 1 through 32. Number 1, the Rams. Number 2, the Eagles. Number 3, Colts. Number 4, 49ers. Number 5, Broncos. Number 6 are the New England Patriots. Number 7, Lions. 8, Packers. 9, Bears. 10 are your Buffalo Bills. Number 11 are the Seahawks. Number 12 are the Chiefs. Number 13 are the Baltimore Ravens. Number 14 are the Cowboys. Number 15, Buccaneers. Number 16, Panthers. Number 17, Steelers. Number 18, Texans. Number 19, Chargers. Number 20 are the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 21 are the Bengals. 22, Dolphins. 23, Cardinals. 24, Vikings. 25, Commanders. 26, Browns. 27, Giants. 28, Falcons. 29 are the Raiders. 30 are the Titans. 31 are the Saints, and 32 are the New York Jets. And those are my Week 13 power rankings. And that is going to do it for today's episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. As we're on the road to 100 plus subscribers here on YouTube. If you enjoyed, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I'll be back next week with my Week 14 NFL show. Yeah, feel free to suggest any video ideas. I will take those into account. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, have a wonderful day. God bless. Don't forget to keep him first because he's the most important thing in your life. So have a wonderful day, guys. Peace.